Take three. Rolling. Speeding sound. Action.
Alors, e club sorti. Sorti. E chotti. Sorti. E shorty. Chotti. Shorty. Chotti. Sorti.
Cut.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
I'll take a shorty, please.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Shorty? Shorty? Shorty now. Give me a shorty.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
You need to add that one. Okay? Another one?
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Give me a club shorty, man. Shorty, shut me up, please. Shorty. Can you shut me up? Can you shut me up?
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Shorty. Shorty. Shorty, please. Again.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
My goodness. Shorty. I'm going to finish this thing.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Shorty. Shorty.
Shorty.
I said this guy. Because you're delaying, so I have to keep following.
Say differently, refresh is the same. In a cool size bottle, the refreshing 330 ml Club Shorty is back. Club, refreshingly different. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please
we are very, very particular in how we select our suppliers, and quality comes top when we are selecting. So anyone you see in here, just know that you've met one of the best suppliers in their category in the country, because we are very particular in how we select the suppliers we deal with. So we shall have a beer tasting. This will be an interesting one. We might get a chief tester from us here. So we have a blind beer tasting to see who actually knows our products more. So that will be part of the pack for today. And then later, we share a beer time for all our portfolio, all our brands that we have here. Our sales team has prepared a very good program for you to end your week and Friday in a good way. All right. So I will give maybe a quick insight about just an overall view of our source to pay operational model. What are the practices that govern the way we source and pay, at a high level? So we have 4 different blocks here that we need that are very important, that feed into our processes. The GPO is the Global Procurement Office, which is in Switzerland. So we have a structure that tries and defines our ways of working globally, so that if you went to do business, as you'll find out in the presentations later, we operate in very many countries. We are the largest beer company, to note, globally. So you will notice there is potential beyond just Uganda that you can tap in with our sister breweries. So globally, that alignment comes from our global office to make sure that we operate in a sound and aligned manner. So under the global team, we have, they look at our planning and performance measures, what our categories are. The categories, you'll see them later in the presentation. These are the buckets that you usually have for our supplier base. If you notice, you will find, I talked of people that do marketing and trade supplies for us, services. You will find a category, someone called maybe protectives, they do protectives. And you'll find maybe a pool of certain suppliers, others who do engineering works. I see some of them have chosen to sit on the same table. So that is how we call lump categories, which you'll also get to know as we proceed. And then we look at also capabilities, our capabilities and compliance as a business overall, so that in all our different markets where we operate, we are a sound company. And then we also look at the global risk management. When I talk about risk, every businessman knows what has been going on. So this is the biggest topic. So even globally, we align ourselves. How do we mitigate the risks that are there within our business arena? Welcome, Mr. Naga. Okay. And then we look at smart value creation. And that is very important. And I know every businessman has a strategy where you're looking at that state-of-the-art machine of a business that you're going to run, whether you're home or you're not in office. There are systems that will run that business and make it the very best. Then we have a regional procurement office, and that's for the zone Africa. And it's in Joburg. And that's where one of the presenters today sits and guides a couple of countries. You will see he has legs in almost 6 to 7 countries. And that's his job, is to make sure business that is done in Tanzania, business done in Zambia, and other countries that he will mention is fully aligned to the principles of a responsible company, ABI. So if you see, it's a replica. It's a replica from the global. What we do at the regional, we try to cascade it to our zone leadership. And then there is a group of very interesting people. And I remember some time back, there is a supplier that called, we were chatting, and they were asking, they've never met Catherine. In the past, it used to be Anne, Sophie. And I told them, these are amazing people that have managed to give us like the strongest support offshores, and they feel like they're here. I mean, I work with them very closely. And I think also most of my suppliers make more phone calls or more communication with them than they even do with us in country. So it's amazing how tech can help us leverage. So that's the RPSS, where we have our spot buyers, we have our PRO follow-up people. When your requisition is on the way and maybe a PO is not yet released, I'll show you how the flow is like. Then supplier enablers, enablement, contract admin, and optimization, and buy sales support. Then we have the NOC that makes sure that money hits your account. Personally, they are my very good friends, as whenever someone makes money hit my account, they are my very closest friends. So under the NOC, I know the names that come off your heads. They are the Ganesh, Nitesh. Those are currently the ones that are helping us, but the team keeps evolving and changing depending on the requirements. And then now we brought on a team from AirChain that does the support on the side of NOC equally to help us on our payments. And a help desk that you can always reach out to whenever you have an issue. Okay. All right, so I wanted us to maybe run through a quick way of how we do our sourcing and what exactly happens from the onset of when we identify a need. So there are two different categories here that I will highlight on. And from around last year, many of the suppliers that do services, routine services, and supplies, you notice there was a deliberate move to ask you, please, can you give me maybe a period within which you can maintain a certain price over time? You will see the importance of that. So that's one bucket of it. You will see somewhere where we talk about automated system, the automated price automation, the benefits it brings. And then you'll also look at the other portfolio, which is the normal one that all of us usually use from the onset before we automate or have a contract in place. So in the meantime, I know this is a very important session. We're going to have maybe a 3 minutes break just within, so that we can, I know there's a lot I've said, so that it first sinks in, and then we can start on the critical steps that matter to many of the people who are here. Thank you. Hello. I think we've had enough of that short rest so that we can proceed with the rest of the program for the day. Right. Back to the presentation. So what we're going to go through is the real onset of how the process of dealing with us gets initiated. How do you get to do business with us after you've been registered as a supplier? Because everyone who is here is a registered supplier or a registered distributor. Even distributors do some service where we have to pay them. We have also transporters. So after we've registered you, and now how do you start maybe to get an opportunity or to do business with us are the stages we are going to look at. How do you end up getting an order from our side? How does it get raised? What stages happen before you get an order? Is what we're going to go through right now. All right. So just like I had highlighted, there are two key categories that differentiate how you get an order from NILE Breweries. All right. And to highlight, we don't just source from the street or when we have a need, just go in somewhere with cash. We operate a cashless business. We don't have a cash office anywhere, so it's more of a structured system, how we do get an order. And we don't get new suppliers every time we want an item. And that's why we have a pool of people in each bucket or category. So that busy part of the first stage is where the needs come up from the different people in our company, from the functions or departments, from the sites, from sales, from marketing, from supply, technical, engineering, agriculture. Someone in the business in our breweries gets a need of what they want to purchase. And then a requisition is raised from them. And then now it takes two routes depending on the setup of that request and the supplier that is supplying that category. If the first stage is the shorter one, it's not a shortcut, because for you to get to that short process, there is a lot that goes through in the background. So in the event, like now, I can say a service like cleaning my office at the brewery, cleaning the offices of the brewery, maybe cleaning the compounds of the company. I shouldn't be going back to my supplier for such a service every month to ask them what price it is. Because it's recurring, it's something that you're doing so often. Or like those who do for me branding. A stand like this, I shouldn't go back to them all the time to ask them what's the price. You can't ask the same question that you know the answer. So that's the category. My tech guy wants to give us a break, but I won't allow. So the category of if you're on contract or catalog. The difference between a contract is where you've signed fully a contract with us of a period that you're going to supply, maybe say cleaning services or canteen services for the next 1 or 2 years or even months. And you have stipulated prices, stipulated terms. So that's one category. For that, we don't even need to go out in the market to ask if anyone else can give us the similar supply, because we took time and negotiated with you, because there is a process behind giving a contract, which is where we run a tender and then people give us their proposals and the best comes out. And the best doesn't necessarily mean the one with the lowest price. There are a lot of qualities that I know most of you should be knowing. Quality of your service, the turnaround in terms of how long you take to deliver. Price also is an element, but not the main one. How ethically you do your business means a lot. And then reliability also means a lot. So if you're on contract, you raise it, the request comes through from the user in a function, and automatically from the PO creation team, the PO gets released. It should be 48 hours maximum for approvals from different people if it's automated. And that's why you see, intentionally, we want to drive as much as possible. If we can automate everyone's service or goods that you supply, it will make our lives much, much, much easier. You will have your PO in time. You won't need to follow up for days to get a PO in time, as long as it's automated. So the PO will be released automatically from, and then catalog. What does the catalog mean? The catalog, this applies to, I know the ones that are mainly on catalog. We have the raw materials that we purchase, crowns, labels. Then we have also trade marketing items, branding items. Because I mean, if I do buy like these table talkers, the chance that this table talker will change shape or the way it's made, it's very negligible. So it's as good as me negotiating with a supplier, graphics somewhere, sharks somewhere, or Jude color, or all my, and say, if you can give me this price, then let's allow to have that fixed over a period of time. It's not that I'm trying to lock you down into a price because I've done a hard negotiation with you. The reason is I don't want you to take long. If I want something, like now, I had an event like this. You can imagine if these table talkers, I was supposed to go through the other longer process. I could fail to have them in time. But because it's automated, I simply make the order, and in 2-3 days I have the items delivered. You have your PO. So that's the advantage of automation. So when we come to negotiate, to automate your prices, to put them on catalog, we want to quicken the process, both for the person who has made a request and you who is giving us the service. Then the second option is, if we do not have a contract or a catalog, then this goes to a spot buyer. I will explain the structure for the spot buyers, and they are also online on Zoom. They are listening in. So it goes to the spot buyers, who are the RPSS team. And to the spot buyers, depending on the threshold, there are chances where you'll find you don't need 3 quotes for you to, I mean, you only need to get 3 quotes to compare with, or you don't need 3 quotes. So there are 2 options. If, depending on the threshold, then the spot buyer can get 3 quotes and get the best, and then we award. And then where we feel there is an opportunity within the portfolio, let's say there are 10 different suppliers that can actually give us the same item or service, then we go for an e-auction. And I know a couple of people have participated in an e-auction. It started when it had glitches like any other change. But why do we go for an e-auction? To make it as open as possible for you not to submit maybe a document and you're not comfortable that maybe there was honesty in the process. Because on e-auction, you put in your offer, we assess your proposals, you put in your prices, and you will clearly go out of the e-auction when you know, maybe this is what I could offer, maybe I've gone through, I've not gone through, and you get the result. So that's one of the reasons we do the e-auction, to try and look at the pool that we have. Then the sourcing specialist under that e-auction will ask the suppliers to put in their bids, and then they will be assessed and an award given to that supplier. And then a PO is created. If you notice the second option, it has a couple of stages that it has to go through. So we prefer, if where possible, the upper process would make a lot of sense for everyone. If you know that maybe I maybe offer a service in our breweries, I've given in my quotation, within 48 hours, 2 days, you should know whether you have the business or you don't have it, so that you either prioritize your funds to something else or you move those funds to supply that service or good. All right, so that's the process up to when you get a purchase order for you to give us a service or a good. You can move on to the next. All right. So we have the PTS leadership, who are the team in RPSS that support us. This is how their structure is like. They have a leadership called Rock, who sits in SA, so that we align strategies both ends at all levels. That's why he sits at the regional office. And then under that, I know most of the names below here are very familiar depending on what category you're in. So it's not that one spot buyer does everything. Depending on the category you're in, that's why you find you'll be more used to one spot buyer than the other. So we have Yash, who is the lead spot buyer for the team. And then Fabrice is into the category of engineering spares. So engineering related things. I know you've interacted with Fabrice a lot, and that's his area of expertise. That's where he also gives us that bit of service to make sure he focuses on such requests, so that we have value as a business in terms of how we source, and you also get the best service, because he has each of these spot buyers in their category, or each of these have, not spot buyers, each of these category leads have visibility of the same category in a number of countries. So it's easy for them to know maybe you can pick a good practice from one country to another. And that's one of the benefits we get. Or even I know some of the suppliers here who have footprint in other countries that we operate, like Tanzania, South Africa, and many others. Zambia, which one of our leads will take you through, one of our directors in the countries where we operate. They have contacted you to see if you can give a similar service or supply a similar item into those countries. Then Nabil is into the category of marketing and sales. So the salespeople, I know we deal a lot with Nabil. He helps to guide the process so that we follow the right principles of sourcing. Then we have one on CapEx, that's capital expenditure. So we projects mainly, and that's Nirmar. So her duty is to make sure most of these, let's say, expansion projects, or maybe we are buying an equipment that is a capital spend. You will see the spot buyer will be maybe Nirmar. You won't see now maybe or you won't see Fabrice come in here unless he's coming in support. So Nimar will help you, guide you through. And then we have Joanita, who helps us on the category for the simple, if you say simple packages and logistics, simple packages simply means the day-to-day services and goods that we get, and that's travel, in case hotel like this. She helps me to negotiate rates or have contracts in place with hotels, or make sure that the sourcing of hotels is harmonized across the market. Then we have packages like my friends Toyota, who give me leased vehicles. You also find you fall in those categories. She will be involved when we are going to negotiate, and she will guide based on what we do in other markets. Then we have the category specialists for the directs. Those are like items you buy, material, raw material, that's it. An indirect is, if you say direct and indirect, one is a service. A direct is an item you go and purchase, like raw materials that we buy. Okay, then we have Ash. Then there is someone called Jamila also. Jamila helps on the master data. She's the master data lead. What does master data mean? I've seen many people have come to me when you're talking about maybe a change of, let's say, your bank account, a change of, let's say, your contact that you gave. Maybe originally you had put in a contact for an employee who left. So Jamila makes sure that the contacts that are in our system, everything, details about your account, are accurate. So if there is anything that maybe is not accurate, she's a very good resource in helping on that. And by mere fact that all of you, most of you, or all of you who managed to receive, then there's Ashley, who is a PR to PO manager. That's the person that makes sure once the PR has been raised, it is moved into a PO. If there is a delay in a PO being released, he definitely, or he manages that bit of the lapse and makes sure, follows up for the approvals to happen from the budget owners, depending on the threshold, from the finance lead or the MD or myself. So depending on the threshold, and then the PO comes out. And then Sharon, who is also online, and the best of friends for all of us who invest that need to get paid. That's the AP manager. That's the one that helps us on the side of the accounts payables. So in the package somewhere, we shall definitely go through the accounts payables, the process for air chain, and then we also have someone that will come in to give a bit of hint on, I know all of us here in Uganda, there was an enacted change in terms of how our taxes are computed right in November, the withholding VAT and the like. So we shall call in someone that will try to explain it, because it's a bit of been causing confusion in terms of what someone expects to be paid and what is actually hitting their account. All right. So Yash is in charge of BU East and BU South, which is BU Southeast. It's one of the biggest BUs in terms of countries. So he looks after 7 countries that we shall explain to you. So, and then on Uganda particularly, Catherine Naigum is our lead spot buyer. And I know she has communicated with, if you haven't received an email from Catherine, then And then those are other spot buyers for other countries. If you notice, some names had ever worked on Uganda, so the team keeps evolving so that we tap into the potential from what someone learns from another market. Then the CapEx buyers, we also have 4 of them that support, and then the e-auctioning specialist that helps to run that platform where we want to have the active sourcing and submission of bids from people. Can move on. Okay. Which business requires requirements lead us into contracts or catalog or outline agreements? Why do we choose to go into this? Because someone could challenge you that maybe you'll get into a contract and maybe 1 month down the road, the person you've signed a contract with, you find actually the market has maybe something better in terms of service or price or... So what guides us? When a purchasing department wants to set up a long-term relationship with a vendor in a specific group of materials or service, like I gave an example, we know we run in a very, very fast world. So if my marketing team or a sales team, they are contacting you to do work, they need to move fast. So it would make a lot of sense and consistency of the work. That's why when you see a print of a NILE special in Kampala, it will look like the same print that you'll meet in Western Uganda, in Bara, in Gushenyi, in Kasese, in Kabale, or in Jinja. That consistency. So the long-term relationship brings some of those benefits. And then also secondly, on the side of the supplier, it makes you plan better when you have a long-term relationship. You plan your resources better. You plan and know maybe I have so much business that comes from this stream, and you allocate the resources. Then to also negotiate binding conditions for the purchasing or price, quantity, and discounts. This helps you also equally, like I raised, to the suppliers, it helps you to forecast money for a certain stream of business. It helps you also to know how to find your sourcing as a business, because we've guaranteed some scale of business. Then using pre-negotiated offers during a day-to-day purchasing for faster turnaround time. A service like cleaning, a service like someone handling waste on a site, it's a day-to-day thing. Or meals, it's a day-to-day thing. I mean, why would you stress such a service provider going back to them every now and again? Or a transporter, unlike the last few months. Transporters, I know, everyone gets those, we get those ups and downs. But the most important thing, like for the transporters, even when things like fuel prices come up, you have a basis from where to start. But you can imagine if there was no rate, no definition of a rate with us, and your trucks are moving our beer, we would have nowhere to start from to agree on, let's say, a change to accommodate some of those ups in the market. Then also it provides better monitoring and control of actual release of purchase orders against the offer. You will notice in our presentation somewhere, which we are able to say, in a certain category, I spend so much. Just like the old saying, if you can't measure it, you can't control it. So if you don't know where you spend your money, how will you measure it? Or how will you control it? So we also need to have a system that can help us to know, do I spend more money on, let's say, parties? Do I spend more money on the actual services on the site? Do I spend more money in buying, let's say, fancy cars, yet I'm a beer company? Like, I need to know. And that is what the system gives us. And then secondly, for the very insightful business people, I know this also helps you to know maybe the insight of NILE Breweries. There are people that have come to ask any potential businesses in NILE. So if you get to know that maybe 40% of my business is in raw materials for making beer, or 50%, and maybe 5% of it is in a certain category, then you know where to tap opportunities. Otherwise, if I can't give you that kind of off my head, or if you can't find that kind of information, then you won't know where to find the opportunities. Then reduce business risk and improve compliance. Risk has been on the mouth of every investor, everyone that decides not to enjoy their cash now and wait for the future. So as a business also, we want to mitigate the risk, both on our side and on your side. Because when you notice, contracts have clauses that equally protect you. Like, an act of God happens and you are unable to meet your contract. I won't drag you to court, because we actually sat down and looked at your contract and noticed this is an act of God that you can't control. But if there is no basis, or you won't drag me in court, it's not the other way, only one way. So it helps for us to have contracts or catalogs. And then also improve compliance. What does compliance help us? I mean, all of us know the business world. It's possible to buy a bottle of mineral water at 1 million shillings. So if you read that in a newspaper, we want to have that bit of compliance so that if you, the control is in place, your image and our image is also protected. Move on to the next. All right. So that's mainly it. First of all, in terms of how we get to the process of identifying a need to buy something from any of our functions, to a level where you get a purchase order, to a level where you agree on a contract, where you agree on a catalog listing, how you get, because there at times we have people that have maybe approached asking, in such a category, I would like maybe to come in and maybe supply these vehicles. And I tell you, maybe this year is not possible. This is the reason why. Because a supplier Y in the same market came back maybe a year back, we sat down, negotiated a contract with them, gave them our commitment, and it is only ethical for you to honor the commitment that you've given to someone. Then what are those areas where you find you come and you ask, is there an opportunity here? And you find it's actually possible to jump in, and you will actually get to supply or do a service. That is because of the setup of the purchase of that kind of item. Maybe we do not have contracts in place, we do not have negotiated catalogs, we do not have agreements up front in that category. So it's the market plays it. Like, we have to go to the market and ask what's there. So next we are going to look at another section that is very, very, very interesting. Capabilities. Because the suppliers that we have here, I know they are the cream of suppliers I know in Uganda. And many of you, I know tech is like your everyday thing. Like, all of you do this. And any who hasn't done it, borrow a leaf from a neighbor and ask them, how do you pull this off? Or what do you gain in doing this? So as a business, we definitely do interact with our stakeholders, suppliers, distributors, and we get to find out what are our pain points and try to look for ways of how we can resolve these pain points. Air chain. In the past, we used to have, I know most people use SAP, QuickBook, accounting systems. Others move with vaults of money and trucks of money, and they choose to pay cash. So for us, we choose to keep a trail electronically. What is this air chain? Because people have different names for air chain. People call it a chain, some call it. So the other day I was talking to one of the suppliers in Far West, and they told me, I didn't respond to those emails because I thought this was one of those pranks where people want to enter into my system and make away with money. No, air chain is not a prank. It's a very safe process, very protected. We definitely know that we have to trade ethically, and we do put those kind of controls in place to make sure there is ethical trading. So, what is air chain? It's a system that is going to help us when you do business with us. We get to pay you. Not only pay you in time. Not only pay you in time, give you visibility of what is in our system, in our ERP system for your business. And the beauty of this, I know almost 90-something% of most of my stakeholders, you have smartphones. And that's the beauty of it. You can even do all this on your smartphone. Maybe you want to expand your business in a month's time, and you want to know your cash flows, how much is going to come through in terms of your payments. You're able to see how much am I going to receive, or you have a facility to sort out in the next 1 or 2 months. Now on the other flip, maybe you made a request and Hillary told you, no, you're going to get paid tomorrow. You'll be like, no, Hillary, that's not true. I checked in AirChain. It's saying I'm going to be paid next year. It gives you that power and visibility of what is going on our side, so that you ask the right questions. If you expect to be paid in a month's time, and it's showing a year, you need to know why. So AirChain gives you that visibility. And I know every businessman wants to know how their money is coming in, because you also have responsibilities, just like us. So under AirChain, the first step that happens is where we onboard a vendor. And that's the email that you receive the very first time you share with us a correct email on your database, or if the correct email was in your database, you actually received it. And I'm happy to say the adoption, for those that have adopted, you will really see the benefits of this. So we onboard based on your email comes through, the email that you registered with our company, not your email that you use on other platforms, the email that the business registered to trade or to transact with us. I know there are those that have generic emails for those companies where you find an email is for info to everyone in the company, please confirm that the email that you have is a working email that someone really checks frequently, preferably someone that actually deals with your payments, follows up on your payments, because it also eases their work. Then the workflow has different approval levels. So don't get worried that someone can enter into AirChain and maybe do an approval all the way and something is done not right the same way we used to do it in the past in the other systems of ERP. Because this pulls still data from ERP. And AirChain will give you a quick dashboard, a simple summary, or a one-pager that shows you how many POs. You can even, and it helps you also to assess, like after a year. I know record keeping is a problem sometimes. You're able to go into a simple app that AB decided to invest in and pull transactions you've done with us. Many of us many times have, I know the taxman is very close to all of us, so a time comes and you have to sit down with the taxman and look at your transactions. Very many people have come to me with long Excel sheets showing what transactions maybe the taxman shows that they have done with us. Actually, we will show you that. What have you transacted with NILE Breweries? And it quickens your work in such reconciliations. What invoices have you loaded? If you have your own, because by the fact that you are on our platform as a supplier or as a distributor, I'm very sure you do audits on your side because it was a requirement for you to have audited books. So you need this because, I mean, at audit you need to look at what have you invoiced. What amounts were they? Which periods were they? Which year was it? You can get all this information. GRNs, a goods received note. It's important because that's the start of confirming that you supply a service or a good. You can also pull this. There's a dashboard for this. So it gives you a holistic visibility on your transactions with us. And that's why I really want to rally with everyone that whatever it needs you to really take on AirChain, the benefits are much more than the small pains that will come up. Most importantly, we have a fully fledged 24-hour, 24/7 team, which a couple of people are underutilizing. They are willing to go on a Zoom with you, support you. So we've shared those contacts before, but we shall also share them again. You can go onto a Zoom, the person will support you. If there is an error, if there is a mistake, they will support. If they can't solve it, they know where to escalate for someone to support. So the most important stage, the intake of your invoices. When you complete a task or a job or a service, when a PO is actually, before even complete, when a PO is generated from the first stages that we did on the sourcing process, it comes automatically into your profile of AirChain. You can go to AirChain and confirm that an order has come through for me to supply 40 chairs, 20 laptops. You won't need to follow up maybe by phone with maybe Belinda or Hillary or a user on the site and ask them, my PO. You can go in the system and know the PO is not out, and you'll ask. If someone is asking you to supply, I don't see the PO in. So that if, because there are cases, one-off cases, and those are usually approved at certain levels depending on the threshold, where we clearly know you are going to supply, the PO maybe is not there, Maybe it's an emergency, like on a site. Think about it. I get a fire on a site or anything else, and I need to do it there and then. You will get that approval directly from someone from procurement, because a user will contact procurement to ask for it. And you will get that approval acknowledging that you can go ahead as the PO is being processed. So there are those, because we don't work, life is not that straight. So we know there are those cases, one-offs, where you have to get into an exception. So once you've completed, you have your invoice, the company invoice, and most importantly, IFRIS invoice. IFRIS invoice. We are a very highly law-abiding company, and we pay our taxes diligently. So we really conform to whatever requirements that the taxman asks us to do. So we need the IFRIS invoice for us to be able to pay you. Otherwise, we shall have an issue, both you and ourselves, to prove that I did pay you to supply me chairs, not just passing on some money to fund your company. That's very, very important on the IFRIS side. So you load your IFRIS invoice, what they call PO flipping. Then you also you attach your IFRIS invoice, generate an invoice from AirChain. Very quick steps. Takes you less than a few minutes for you to generate it. And you submit it. When you submit it, it moves to the next stage, and everyone that has a link to that purchase will get to see it. Where is the beauty here? On the automation, automated invoice and matching. So after you've sent through your documents, they have been submitted. Please note, timely submission means you'll be paid in time. You lose time to submit in time, you're only doing a disfavor to yourself. Because the system will wait. If you're supposed to submit your invoice to date, you're like, what are you talking about? Some suppliers will like, man,